number 13. And this is April the 13th, 2013. I'm really excited about this series on black businesses because, and I'm serious about this, and I hope you take it seriously. Because what I'm sharing with you is information on how to develop a black-owned business. Some of you may say, well, who are you to tell me? Well, you don't have to listen to me because the information I'm giving to you is specifically from people who have built billion-dollar corporations. And I'm here to tell you, you don't know nothing about it. I don't care who you are. As far as now, don't take that wrong. Don't take that wrong. Sometimes we just need to drop our guards and pay attention. In the Bible, there's a principle, that the information will come from a donkey. Well, here I am. you got you. Listen, some of you guys are waiting for someone to walk up to you in a Rolex and a $4,000 suit. And I'm here to tell you, if they do, they're looking to get from you, not give to you. It's kind of the challenge. We got to change our perspective, and that's one of the things that I talk about in this series. Now listen, I'm not going to go back to all these, I'm not going to go back through all these videos. I'm going to leave it to you to go back to some of these things. Lee told me I got to change the date on my thing, so I'm going to do that while you're here. Today's the 14th. Thank you, Lee. Lee is kind of like my brother producer. Except he hasn't come on board because he can't, because he's got a job. I gotta mess with Lee. That's my. He is my Jewish brother. He's a lot like me, except he's a lot smarter than me. Anyway, so I'm not gonna go back through all these videos. Thanks, Lee. But I'm going to encourage you to and listen to them over and over again. Because what we want to do is bring you language that you've never heard before. Never. Even if you think you have, you haven't. And I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to give you some great examples. Today I'm going to give you two examples. People that most of you have never heard of. Who are, and this is what sparks people's ears. They're billionaires. That you've never heard of. One is the owner of ActOne. Which is an employment placement center. It's a black woman. And the other one is the owner of Worldwide Technologies. And the way they started off is extremely interesting. But they will back up my claims so far up to this point. That's right, Lee, from another mother, but we're still brothers. I still have to ask you the question about the Talmudic Jews, though. We're going to have a conversation about that because, that whole belief system is completely different. So listen to what I'm saying to you. The importance of understanding how to become a business owner is wrapped up and explained in the history, which we're still, by the way, we're still on market research, demographic, and history. And until you understand the importance, I spent a lot of time talking about the importance of building a team. Now I'm talking a lot, and hopefully you're getting this, about the importance of understanding the market research and the history. You can't build a business unless you have these principles we're talking about, and I'm backing them up with biblical, with the Bible, with successful business owners. So you don't have to listen to me. 2 Timothy 2:15. Do your own research. I'm just giving you a starting point. And very few people come into our communities and do this because it's expensive to do. It takes a lot of obedience and a lot of sacrifice for someone to even translate. Because look, while you're doing this, you don't have time. Just the research alone is 4 hours to share this information. So don't take it lightly. This is huge. And you're getting it for free. That's the reason why I'm thinking about, I know, Lee, I need to stay on track. I'm on track, Lee, believe me. I have notes. That's the reason why people really don't appreciate a lot of things unless they pay for it. Because then there's an expectation of information, right, to act on. You're getting this for free. Now, don't get it wrong. I'm studying it for my own benefit as well. Because I study just to make sure that I'm standing on steady ground when I'm doing something. Because I never want to be caught with my pants down. Never. If I am, I'll admit it. But I never want to be caught with my pants down when I'm teaching something or I'm doing something for someone. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So the people that I'm sharing with you is the market research, the demographic, and the history. And by the way, they're using the same principles. You'll find, if you're really paying attention, that the principles that are making them successful are the same principles that are making others successful throughout life. Because it's just like breathing air and drinking water. If you understand the purposes of things, it's not as emotional as you think it is. And look, the reason why I'm doing this is there's many reasons. But let me just give you a couple of reasons. Number one reason is most of us don't get the opportunity to go to the Ivy League type schools that teach it from this perspective. Most of you go to school, even college, and they teach you how to get a job. To be an employee. Well, with the times that are coming, an employee will have less opportunities. So being a business owner, you don't have to be a massive business owner, but it's a different perspective. And a lot of you say, I want to own a business. But it takes a certain amount of obedience and a certain amount of sacrifice to be a business owner. Those are the things I want to show you. The process, the work that has to be done, the consistency. It has to come from a real place. In other words, I can't be sharing something with you that I have not experienced. It has to come from, you cannot share with your employees, and you know how, if you've been listening to a few of these things, you know how I feel about employees. I believe they're your collaborators, people that you're mentoring or partnering with so that they can accomplish their best in life. And I gave you a couple of examples, even with Starbucks, that sends their people to school so that they can develop their own talent, so that they can offer the gift of who they are, their talent in the world. It's an important factor. It's not optional. That saying that says give and it shall be given is very true. If you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. I believe those statements and those principles are extremely true. The challenge is we have grown up in an educational system in church and in school, therefore in our homes, that have taught us selfishly to pursue based upon our lust. And as a business owner, it is quite the opposite. For the top 1%, it is quite the opposite. It is all about collaborations and having the right relationships. Listen, if you're part of the right community, you have built-in business. But it's really not about having a built-in business. It's really about developing what you're good at, your talent, and surrounding yourself with other people who are good at what they do and collaborating. You know, and I got to say this. The majority of my business in my consulting company, which just started in September officially, is all referral business, and I'm busy. We haven't even started. Because the people around me need what it is that I'm offering. And because I've shown myself faithful to my community and been selfless. And it's not really about the money I'm earning. It's all about building them up so that they can become very successful people as well. So we're going to talk about those things. But I just want you to remember, because I told you, we're going to stay on market research. And in fact, this might be the last day. I might go one more day with market research, demographics. I think I want to touch on demographics a little bit. Probably do that tomorrow. So I might go one more day with demographics. But I want to touch on market research and understanding your history. And by the way, what you see me doing as I'm sharing this with you is the very essence of market research. And I spoke with you yesterday about about what it is that we look at when we're doing market research. Very important, crucial. We look at the levels, the employment levels, executive management, employee levels. We look at the history of the leaders of that organization, the history of the organization itself. So the very things that you see me, you can't call me a hypocrite. The very thing I'm telling you to do, you are witnessing by listening to the program. It's what I do. It's just become very natural. And listen, the market research, although a very formal way of putting it, is just really taking an interest in your trade. It's not doing anything special. There's some paid sites that I have access to only because I have a researcher. But the majority of the information I search is public information. Here's the challenge, though. You have to be able to disseminate the information. And for that, You have to know, by the way, you're in class already. I hope you realize that. Very, very important you understand that. So I hope you're taking notes. To disseminate that information, you have to understand three things. Well, more than three things, but three things that I want to introduce to you right now. You have to understand the perspective, the perception, and the prospective of the subject matter that you're looking at. In other words, you can't look at something from an employee standpoint. You have to look at it from the standpoint of the owner and from their perspective. That's perspective is tied to hope. So when you hear the word prospective, just think about hope. Something people are shooting for. It's not complicated. So you have to be able to disseminate the information and see it from their perspective or what they're hoping for or what they hoped for. It could be past tense. That's important because you'll see the road that they traveled to get there. If you're looking at their CV, at their biography, or whatever, you'll notice that when you read certain things, that they'll talk a lot about where they came from and how they overcame. And it's very general because, you're not going to read everyone's book. Just so you know, Lee, I'm talking about market research and history. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about history. I gotta tease him because he'll listen to me, and I need someone to talk to because I don't. It's like I'm looking at these three rings here. So listen. So and none of you are typing anything in the messenger. So there you go. And I've been told by my analytics, people are watching, which is fantastic. So you have to understand their perspective, their perception, how they perceive things, which is what I'm working on getting us to do, changing how you perceive things. Like when you get an objection, when you get a problem, not because that's what you think about. When you get problems, it's not really a problem. What it's showing you is what you need to cure to get to the next step. But if you don't understand the basis of that thing that's happening to you and why it's happening. I received something in over the email. I'm not sure. I don't have an attorney yet, so I'm trying to be careful when I say things. But I received something over the email that told me what I needed to get a particular thing done. And I was so excited because they told me pretty much how to win. Some people would perceive that as a problem. I saw it as an opportunity. That was my perspective. And that was my perception. And So working towards my perspective, my perception is that of I can overcome anything if you just tell me what the problems are. And when a person is willing to tell you what the problems are, that means they're giving you an opportunity to win. That's the perception of a business owner. So you have to have that. So your perspective has to be right, your perception has to be right, and your always see I do this. Your perspective has to be right. Prospective, perspective, and perception has to be right. All of them. If they're not, you'll look at something the wrong way, and you'll miss an opportunity. You'll get angry, you'll get scared, fear sets in. And if you do that as a business owner, not only will you lose a contract, will you lose an opportunity, you'll lose people who are looking to you for leadership. So understanding how others overcame these things is very important. Very important. Which is the reason why. Looking at market research, understanding your demographics, and looking at the history of anything, including your widget, and your territory, and your competition, and being confident about the information that you're sharing and that you're learning is very important for the success of your enterprise. So let's get into it. I want to share with you a couple of things. And then also I want to talk to you about history. And I always try to leave you with a book, a historical figure, or something, so that you get an idea of where things have not necessarily started, but where other successful figures that you admire or may have heard of are operating in the principles that I'm sharing with you and are very necessary for the success of any business transaction or any business pursuit. If we're operating in these same principles, there is no reason in the world, by the way, with the right attitudes. I don't believe in good and bad attitudes. I believe in right and wrong attitudes. When something devastating happens in your family and you mourn, that's not a bad attitude. That's the right attitude. You should mourn. Recently, I was talking to someone. I can't say she's close to me, but I could say I admire her, and she suffered a loss close to, and she's mourning, and she has the right to mourn. That's not a good attitude, bad attitude. She's mourning. The right attitude is seeing things from the right perspective, prospective, and having the right perception of it. That's something. Listen, these things were not taught to us average folks. We were taught that when something negative happens, coming out of the Christian church, when something negative happens, we're supposed to say, I'm blessed and highly favored. It's in God's hands. No, it's a little bit more realer than that. It really takes being a lot more focused on seeing things the right way and knowing how to respond to it. That's important. So Kiana, I saw your request. Just give me a second. So as I go through these, the market research and some historical data, what I'm suggesting is, let's not look at the dry information. Let's look at how they focused in on overcoming the objections. Time is going by. Kiana wants to be on, so I'm going to put Kiana on. Let's find out what Kiana Jones wants to say. We're adding her to Facebook Live. Kiana Jones, go ahead. You had a comment? Hello. Okay, I don't think that worked. So we're going to bounce out of that. So the first person I really want to talk about is David Steward. First of all, I have a friend with a name similar to that, but it's not him. Someone I grew up with in high school and before high school, in fact. David Steward is the owner, the co-owner of Worldwide Technologies, which is a big company now. But he came out of a poor background and became very successful. But it's important to understand what he had to do to overcome that. So yes, he went to college. Yes, he worked a job. But if you look at his resume, he bounced from job to job. He was at Wagner Electronics from 74 to 75. He was with Missouri Pacific Railroad Company, which most people would love to be at. He was there for 4 years. He was a senior account executive for Federal Express. He was there for 5 years. And he was a salesperson of the month there. And then suddenly he went into business ownership with Transportation Business Specialists and Transportation Administrative Services, where he took his experience, the language that he probably learned at Missouri Pacific Railroad Company, and landed a contract doing their IT and servicing them. Now, the beautiful part about that was the principle that I share with you, he also did, which was he had a partner by the name of Jim Kavanaugh. Anyone aware of hockey might know him. He owns a hockey team now. But the point is, he went from being an employee to being a business owner. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't successful, because he's very successful. But there was no legacy asset there. This was someone that got around the right people, had the right perspective, the right prospective, perceived things the right way. And he was also the founder of a company called Telcobi, which was a global technology and supply chain management company. So he went from being an employee, obviously well-respected, top salesperson, to being a business owner. What changed the game for him? The way he saw things, the people he surrounded himself with, and the opportunities he took advantage of. I'm going to put these notes on YouTube as well. But he founded Worldwide Technologies in '90 because of his successful experience in integrating technology to solve business problems. The first years were difficult, but he never missed a payroll. Now, explain that. So let me interpret that. And this is huge. Let me interpret that. Because we don't get this part. We just see he's a billionaire, his net worth is $5 billion. So let me interpret that. He had a couple of companies, merged them together with a business partner. They hired people. He didn't make any money, but he paid his employees. The company went in debt over $3.5 million. Now, this is where most people would give up. This is where most people get scared. This is where most people's perspectives, they think, well, maybe I'm not being reasonable. Now, what did I say? The important thing is having the right perspective. That's the hope. That's the thing you're going after. Things get dark when you have an excellent perspective and you're trying to crack through barriers that you know. What did I say? He started off with a job. He came from average folks. He didn't have anyone to show him this thing. So what did he do? He surrounded himself with the right people. He partnered with Jim Kavanaugh, who came from a completely different experience. He was a European. Can I say it that way? Now, Steward is the majority owner of Worldwide, but he partnered with other people who had different ways of looking at the same perspective, but they had a different perspective. In other words, as a black man, he had a perspective, but you can't be scared to surround yourself with other people who have a different perspective. I was talking to one of my business partners recently because we're working on this fairly large contract to do some work here locally in Los Angeles County. Actually, Southern California, because I think it crosses counties. I'm not sure, but I think it crosses counties. And something went wrong. And the thing that went wrong shocked my business partner. And I said, dude, relax. You know, after he finished blaming me and blaming everybody. He still thinks I'm wrong in some respects, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Because no one's going to hand you a multi-million-dollar corporation. You're going to have to fight. Watch this. You're going to have to fight for what you believe. Now, the fight that I'm talking about is not the fight that you might have in your head. The fight might be you staying quiet and not being so shaken on the inside when something goes what you call to be wrong. Because it's not going wrong, you're getting the information early. But you have to be able to handle the right the information, so you have to have the right prospective, perception, and perspective on things that happen. You know how you talk to someone, and when you talk to them, you know, it's like they want to blame everybody or be introspective. No, some things aren't that deep. Some things you just need to sit on, relax, and look at what's going on and find out and find a solution which is right in front of you. In a lot of cases, it really is. The thing that's happening oftentimes, the way you're looking at it, the people that are involved don't see it the way you're looking at it. They're just waiting for some leadership. Now, keep in mind what I said about leadership. Leadership is the ability to lead or to serve in the midst of everything going on. You have to have the right perspective to do that. Everything that happens that doesn't turn out the way you want it to turn out is not a bad thing. You're learning about the nature of the business or the environment that you're in. You can't be moved and shaken when you find out information about people. You can't be insecure. Can I say it that way? So the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people, having the right outlook on everything. I'm running out of time, but having the right outlook on everything going on is a very important part of starting a business, cultivating that business, seeing that business past all the challenges that you're going to have, surrounding yourself with the right people. Steward hired people even when he couldn't pay himself. The company went into debt. His car got repossessed. He was a business owner. I remember listening to Dr. Frederick Casey Price, who has a church. Listen, this isn't about your opinion about these people. This is about people who lived out the principles. Forget the opinions. It doesn't matter. What matters are the principles learned. I remember listening to Dr. Frederick Casey Price talk about losing his car, not having enough money, can't pay his bills, and when he passed a couple of months ago, one of the most well-respected leaders in not progressive, but in the Christian movement. Well respected within the movement. You know, everybody has opinions of successful people. You're always gonna have those people. You know, but made major impact. But went through, if I could say this, hell on earth. But you couldn't shake him. Because even when he was going through those things, his testimony with his family, specifically his wife, was he didn't allow people's opinion of him to move him from what he believed. So the first years of building your business will be difficult for the majority of us. But he never missed paying his employees. You have to have, in fact, the quote is, "I have faith that our company was capable of providing exceptional value," quoted in 2004. Quoted it from Doing Business by the Good Book. I have faith that our company was capable of providing exceptional value. Can you hear his perspective, his prospective, his perception of things? I can. Now, it was later on that a little organization called the SBA, Small Business Administration, approached him to serve government customers and provided him with a contract. That helped Worldwide Technologies land his first federal contracts. So being attached, now this is what I hear. To have been approached by the SBA means that he had to have been involved politically and in the community. Now, I know some of you didn't hear that, but I heard that. I just heard that. How else would they have known about him? SBA doesn't know about me. They're not knocking on my door, So that tells me that he was connected to his community. That tells me that he spent time researching his community and the necessities of his community, because he had a product that could be used. Don't think that was by accident. It was in 1995 that he won a contract to supply computer workstations to U.S. troops in Bosnia. How'd that happen? It happened because he was connected in his community. He was connected politically. He did his market research. And I dare say he understood his history. Mr. Steward was was a member of Horatio Algier Association, served on the board of directors, also a member of the National Academy of Foundation, United Way of St. Louis. And that's another thing I loved about his story when I was reading about him. He always kept his local community in focus. Became an international businessman, but yet didn't forget that he was from the St. Louis area and served in the St. Louis area with various charities and received his honorary doctors of law. Now, I don't have a lot of time, so I want to move on to the next person. But I'm hoping you're getting the point of the importance of understanding your market and understanding your history. Now you might say, well, Paul, that didn't say anything about understanding your market. This man understood his market. I hope you caught that. He understood that he couldn't do it by himself. He had two companies. He merged them, partnered with Jim Kavanaugh, a European man, a white man, who was a lot differently connected. He had two different perspectives. They took on employees, went in debt, landed a contract with the SBA, got them started, got them even, but he didn't really get launched until he landed a contract with the government providing technical information. You got to hear that. Hard to hear it if you're not paying attention, though. Sometimes you just got to catch it. You know, a lot of lessons are caught, not taught. But the point is, by creating that, remember when I was talking about mentors, collaborators, people you bring up? That's all in that story. You know, listen, and this next thing I want to bring up to you. You know how they tell you that you really shouldn't do business with your family? So, yeah, let me talk about Janice Bryant Howroyd, Howroyd. I'm not sure. Howroyd, the owner of ActOne. She not only does she own ActOne, which is a workforce solution employment company, but she owns commercial rental properties and houses, has over 17,000 clients, works with over 2,600 employees in 19 countries. Now wait a minute. This, and I'm sure she wouldn't like to be considered. Most people, by the way, have not heard of her. But I'm sure she wouldn't just like to be considered just a black woman, but she is a black woman. With a doctorate degree from North Carolina University, which means she kept learning as she was already successful. I mean, she was already successful. She said her executive team a lot of her executive team is her family members. We've been told not to do business with our family members. Her executive team is her family members. She owns 51% of her company. The other 49% is owned by her two kids. This woman is obviously brilliant. I do not know her. But as I read her story, it shows me some things if you're paying attention. And again, I'm going to do the best I can to drop my notes in the YouTube, but they're on different systems. But I'm going to try to drop them in there because I don't think they are. But the important thing behind this, there are many important things, but this woman went from being an executive assistant to owning to owning this team. She says, and I quote in Black Enterprise, I realized that I enjoyed helping people get temporary and permanent jobs. When someone told me to hang out my own shingle, I took a chance. In August of 2003, this was written. She saved money and later borrowed from her family in order to start her own company. And if you keep reading, she set her office up in Beverly Hills. She had one phone, and she made phone calls. She had a phone, a fax, and if I find it here while I'm scan reading, it says I'm talking to you, I'll read it. But she had a phone and a fax, and she made phone calls, and she helped get people jobs. If you help enough people get what they want, you too will get what you want. Same principles. You can't tell me she didn't struggle. She borrowed money from her family. I tried borrowing money from my family. They didn't. they weren't having it. But listen, your family takes on a new look. Your family are those who believe in you. That's why I say you need to surround yourself with the right people. The right people could be your family. But also the right people could not be your family. Kiana says, keep money in the family, build legacy. That's absolutely right. The people that I build legacy with is my family. Now, they may not be titled mother, brother, sister, cousin, whatever. And I've said this before, but my goal is to surround myself with the right people professionally, business, socially, politically. I want to be around reliable people, and I want to be a reliable person. I have been a not so reliable person as well. I mean, when I was younger, not that I'm older. I'm older now. I've changed. Some people still look at me like I'm still that young kid, though, and that's okay. I forgave me a long time ago. I have to. I want to be sane. I don't want to be crazy. I come from a background of manic, depressed, schizophrenic behavior. People drinking themselves to death and not caring about their future and losing hope. I'm not interested in being one of those people. So hear what I'm saying. To not be that person, you need to change so that you can attract the right people in your life and train yourself. I'm waiting for the car to drive by. And train yourself to have the right perspective, prospective, and perception of things. Everything that you perceive as going bad is not going bad. It's just there to teach you something. You have to be willing to learn some things. And I I love this. It says that she placed workers at companies with which she could build long-term relationships. In other words, now let me tell you the way I hear that. That means short-term relationships were not as important. Not that you didn't serve those people. But she focused in on building long-term relationships. She always sent only those who were qualified and would be committed to the positions in question. And those are the kind of people I want to surround myself with. Now, the historic figures, now these aren't the historic figures. These are people that are alive. Now, if you have been with me for any short time, you understand that I've always said that you have to honor those, the ancients, the ones that have died, and the elders, the ones who are still living. These people are still living. But I also want to point out one of the ancients, which is Booker T. Washington. Now, a lot of you have read about him, but I'm encouraging you to look at him from a different standpoint. Look at this from his shoes. He was the president of Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. He encouraged people at that time, because at that time, this was what was going on, to develop agricultural businesses and local retail establishments. He was the president of the university or of the institute, because I don't think he could call himself a university at that time. And he focused in on on people. Why? Because that's where they came from. He wasn't trying to train them to get jobs. He was training people to develop. Training to develop agricultural businesses and retail establishments, to recycle money and economically empower themselves. Now, when we hear economically empower, we automatically think money. Now, and I've talked about this in previous videos, and I encourage you to go back and look at them. Economic empowerment means that there is a focus on a people group. The economy is that group. The economy is that group. That group is the demographic that you're interested in. So if we're talking about an economy, we're talking about a specific demographic. So develop agricultural businesses and establish local retail establishments, where it says to develop agricultural businesses and locally based retail establishments to recycle dollars, or their precious dollars is what it says specifically, and economically empower themselves. What's the economic empowerment? The recycling of dollars within a community, called an economy. He established the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. That was Booker T. Washington. Founded by the National Negro Business League. There were 40 chapters. So the goal is, now hear what I'm saying about the perspective. The prospective and the perception of things. he wasn't encouraging people to be good employees. He was encouraging people to become business owners. Why? Because by becoming a business owner, not only do you employ, but you provide services for the community. And you own the services that you provide. That's the only way you can bring a community or an economy out of poverty. I think it was yesterday I read something to you, or maybe it was the Friday before, I'm not sure. But I read something to you about how Adam Smith focused in on hiring people who could build the widgets, but the task of the business owner was to hire them and pay them wages. He called the people that built the widgets stupid. Adam Smith was an old Scottish guy, but that's the way the Europeans thought of this system that they created or innovated from the feudal system. That the economy was built on the backs of those who were willing to work for a wage, all while having a employer sector. What people like Marcus Garvey and Booker T. Washington was saying was, listen, let's not focus in on survival or being an employee. Let's focus more so on becoming business owners and providing an economic system for our own community. By recycling the currency of that day, whatever it is. Now keep in mind, this is not new, because the bartering system is from tribal cultures from years past, which is what this taxation system is really based on. Even before the feudal system, which I may get into. But understanding the history of how things work will keep you from being blinded from how things are working as you would think against you. It's not that they're working against you. It's simply that you're just not aware of how the system works at all.